dudes, welcome to the Cuck of Dusty. I am your host, Dusty the White. Recently I've taken a buttload of flack for a whole bunch of things, but among those things is my insinuation that social justice warriors aren't the most important thing on earth, and that by over-focusing on social justice warriors, we're ignoring even worse things that are being done by the conservative Christians, and our ignoring that has come back to slap us on the back of the head. In fact, just the other day I was debating with popular skeptic cartoon bear, Bearing, and this cartoon bear called me a cunt like 40 times. It's like, cunt. And then he said something like, let me ask you a question, cunt. What exactly are the conservative Christians doing that are as bad as what the social justice warriors are doing? And that's a great question, dudes. I'm glad you asked it. Here's just a few of the things, in my opinion, that the conservative Christians are doing that's just slightly more important than what the social justice warriors are doing right now. How about the fact that 81% of evangelicals voted for Trump, and Trump decided to side with him about global warming being a hoax? So we now have a president of the United States who believes global warming is a hoax. And if you've ever researched global warming, you understand why that is slightly more important than whatever the fuck the social justice warriors are doing right now. And it's not just that he has this personal belief that global warming is a fraud. No, if you've actually been paying attention to his policies from the very beginning, what he says he's going to do is that he is going to immediately remove all environmental regulations on corporations where they can pretty much do whatever they want to now. At least Obama tried a little bit and tried to add at least a few measures to help combat global warming. But Donald Trump, from the very beginning, has always said he will rescind those policies immediately. Basically step us back to where we're doing absolutely nothing, and also remove the shackles from corporations that allow them to do all the polluting they possibly want to. You guys want to talk about how regressive the left is, but truth be told, conservative ideas are much more regressive. They actually move us back in time before we evolve to the point we're at now. He's also promised to gut the Environmental Protection Agency. This was part of his policy all along. Trump has decided to go along with his evangelical base, and they're actually moving forward as though climate change is a hoax. 97% of climate scientists say climate change is real. Now, I know that's an argument from authority, but that's one hell of an argument from authority. The ones that actually spend their life studying this so they know what the fuck is going on believe it's true. They believe it's man-made. They believe it's harmful. They believe it's having catastrophic effects on our planet. And the most powerful man in the free world claiming it is a hoax and taking steps to regress us back in time before we did anything about it whatsoever is fucking dangerous. And number two, how about the fact that Trump just made a Secretary of Education conservative Christian wingnut Betsy DeVos. DeVos was put in place to implement Trump's number one goal in education, and that's to set up a voucher program which would give over $100 billion to religious schools. It would literally be the greatest new subsidization of religion in our lifetime. Literally billions of dollars going from taxpayers into the coffers of Christian schools and used to brainwash children with religion. Yes, a lot of the stuff social justice warriors are doing is dangerous, but is it more dangerous than this? Fuck no, it's not. Even David Silverman and Atheists United have had to speak out about this. They released a press release saying, American Atheist has grave concerns about the direction of education policy under the Trump administration. In particular, Mr. Trump's support for Vouchers, a scheme which allows taxpayer dollars to be directed to religious schools, is cause for alarm. The nomination of Betsy DeVos to implement Mr. Trump's proposal to spend $20 billion in federal taxpayer dollars and more than $100 billion of state education funding on religious education makes it clear that American atheists and other advocates will need to remain vigilant and do everything in our power to fight any attempt to force the American public to subsidize religious dogma. And amazingly, I've actually had a lot of skeptics tell me they believe this kind of school choice is a good idea. They're like, Dusty, why don't you want poor, struggling kids to be able to go to charter schools? Well, here's the thing. For one, there is no evidence that sending these kids to charter schools helps them at all. They've tried this in Michigan, and so far there's no data saying this helps at all. Go look for yourself. But regardless of how you feel about charter schools, this is not the system that Trump and Betsy DeVos want to set up. No, they want to set up a voucher program that could be used at private religious schools. And in fact, 75% of the schools that will be eligible for this new money are indeed private religious schools, which is why the private religious school industry is the ones who have been lobbying for this forever. 80% of the students who will be affected by this will be sent to religious schools. This would be over $100 billion suddenly sent to religious schools and used for religious indoctrination. And yes, as a skeptic, this is really fucking dangerous. This is the type of shit our community should have never let happen. Personally, I think we shit the bed on this one. We should have never let these motherfuckers get anywhere near the White House where they could try to implement this shit. I find it startling how many people allowed their fear of social justice warriors to make them get in bed with these right-wing lunatics. Or third, how about the fact that Donald Trump picked to be Surgeon General an old-school drug warrior from the Tea Party? Jeff Sessions, a far-right conservative Christian, is going to be in charge of our nation's drug policy. At a time where we need reform more than ever, instead of putting more non-violent drug offenders in prison, this fucking dinosaur is going to be in charge of it all. And even places where marijuana is legalized aren't safe. You guys remember when the government did federal raids on legal weed dispensaries around the country? Well, we can only assume that's about to start up again under this guy. Call me crazy, man, but in my opinion, having a conservative Christian asshole like this in charge of the drug war is way worse than whatever the fuck the social justice warriors are doing right now. This shit is regressive as fuck. It's the wrong direction. Just this April, he bemoaned the message sent by marijuana legalization and said, "I can't tell you how concerning it is for me, emotionally and personally, to see the possibility that we will reverse the progress that we've made. It was the prevention movement that really was so positive, and it led to this decline in drug use. The creating of knowledge that this drug is dangerous. It cannot be played with. It is not funny. It is not something to laugh about. And try to send that message with clarity that good people don't smoke marijuana." And now this motherfucker's in charge of it all. Yeah, social justice warriors are annoying, but at least they ain't fucking trying to take my weed away. If it wasn't for weed, I'd really be fucking pissed. Or four, how about the fact that our new Secretary of Health, the guy in charge of all our health care, belongs to a group of doctors that are anti-vaxxer activists? Go look it up. Tom Price is a member of the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons who are anti-vaxxers. They actually released public statements calling for a moratorium on all vaccinations, believing they cause autism. This is the motherfucker in charge of our healthcare right now. Yeah, I know I'm a loon, but as a skeptic, I actually have a fucking problem with this. And I've actually talked to a lot of people in this community who call themselves skeptics, who have told me outright that they believe social justice warriors are the greatest threat on our planet. And so if they have to vote for Donald Trump to get back at the social justice warriors, fine, that's the lesser of the evils. And yeah, it's just my opinion, but I honestly believe that allowing social justice warrior hysteria to make you afraid and to scare you into getting in bed with right-wing Christian loons is very, very silly. Not to mention that this Tea Party bitch wants to gut healthcare. Regardless of what you think about the ACA and your premiums, they plan to take insurance away from 20 million people and replace it with almost nothing. Go look it up. They basically want to regress us back to what Bush was doing. Yes, the ACA has had a lot of problems, but it has saved lives. And if you research it, the people who are most likely to lose their insurance and be hurt by this are going to be the sick and the poor. The most vulnerable among us. Those are the ones who are going to die. And I know a lot of people hate Obamacare because it's incredibly poorly written and allowed so many loopholes where it didn't actually help things. See, most people don't realize that what the problem is the fact that Obamacare caps insurance companies to a 6% profit. So because they're capped at only a 6% profit, they have absolutely no reason in the world to try to bargain with hospitals and medical providers to bring the costs down. In fact, exactly the opposite. The more they can get hospitals to boost the prices up and charge insane amounts of money, the more money that 6% is and the more profit they make. It's actually so fucking ass backwards. The solution to this problem is not to strip healthcare from 20 million Americans. The solution to this problem is to bring on the public option. Because healthcare should not be about profit. There should be a public option that has nothing to do with making profits whatsoever and should be specifically focused on trying to lower medical costs for patients. Unfortunately, with Trump putting this Tea Party anti-vaxxer in power, we're as far away from a public option as we've ever been. And yes, this shit is serious. We're talking about real lives here. Lots of sick, poor people are going to die over this. And yes, in my opinion, putting these assholes in charge is worse than whatever the fuck the social justice warriors are doing right now. In my opinion, we made a huge error not fighting against this harder. But look, folks, I'm not trying to tell anybody what kind of videos they should make. That's not my business to fucking tell you what to make. That's not my business to tell you what to watch, and I don't have the moral authority to do that. All I can do is point out the problem as I see it, and then focus on what I can do personally to make things better. And that's what I want to do. I'm just trying to point out why I don't personally plan on jumping on the whole anti-social justice warrior thing. There are already plenty of people doing that, and you have plenty of selection if that's what you want to watch. I personally think what the conservative Christians are doing is way worse, and I think it needs a lot more focus than it's getting, and that's what I plan on doing with my show for the foreseeable future. But I'm not trying to hate on anybody who thinks differently and does it differently. You guys keep doing what you're doing, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing. Spreading logic. Fuck yes.